The restaurant lights softened everything. The clink of glasses, the low laughter, the way her smile kept finding me, until she inhaled, looked down at her hands, and said, almost like a warning wrapped in mercy, "If you want to leave because I have 3 kids." And in that suspended moment, I felt every version of myself collide. The man who came for an easy first date, and the man suddenly standing at the edge of something braver, deeper, and terrifyingly real. I hadn't come to the restaurant looking for forever. I came looking for a good meal, a decent conversation, maybe a story to tell a friend later. My life had been carefully arranged into clean edges, work during the week, quiet weekends, freedom that felt earned. I told myself I liked it that way. No surprises, no complicated attachments, no one depending on me when I failed to text back or needed a night alone. Then she walked in, not rushed, not trying too hard, just a woman carrying calm like it had cost her something to earn. She wore a simple jacket, the kind chosen for practicality rather than impression, and yet there was a warmth to her presence that unsettled me. When she smiled, it wasn't polished, it was tired, hopeful, and honest all at once. We talked easily at first, about work, about the strange way time seems to accelerate after your 30s, about favorite comfort foods and songs that still hurt for no clear reason. Her laugh came out unexpectedly, like she forgot to hold it back, and when she did, she covered her mouth out of habit. That small gesture told me more than most first-date confessions ever could. What I didn't know, what I couldn't yet see, was the invisible weight she carried into every room. Earlier that evening, she'd stood in her kitchen tying shoes that weren't hers. 3 different pairs, 3 different sizes. She'd negotiated bedtime like a diplomat, promised pancakes in the morning, and kissed foreheads that trusted her completely. As she locked the door behind her, guilt and hope wrestled quietly in her chest. Dating felt indulgent, risky, but loneliness, she'd learned, was its own kind of slow ache. Back at the restaurant, our food arrived untouched as the conversation deepened. There was an ease that surprised me. No performance, no small talk padding. I noticed how she listened with her whole body, how she remembered details I'd barely meant to share. It felt rare, dangerous even. Somewhere between the second laugh and the first comfortable silence, I sensed it coming, a shift. Her shoulders tensed, her fingers traced the edge of a glass. There are moments before a storm when the air changes, when everything holds its breath. This was one of them. And before she even spoke, I knew the night was about to ask more of me than I'd planned to give. She didn't blurt it out. She didn't dramatize it. She waited until the waiter disappeared and the space between us felt safe enough to hold truth. "I should probably tell you something," she said softly. Her eyes stayed on the table, on a small chip in the wood that looked like it had survived 100 other confessions. I nodded, suddenly aware of my heartbeat. This wasn't the nervous excitement of flirting. This was something else. This was weight. She took a breath, steady, practiced, like she'd done this before. "I have 3 kids," she said. Then, almost immediately, as if to protect me from the inconvenience of her life, she added, "If you want to leave because of that, I'll understand." The words didn't land all at once. They unfolded slowly, echoing. 3 kids. Not one, not maybe someday, not a vague future possibility. 3 small humans with needs, routines, history. 3 lives already braided tightly into hers. And there it was, the exit she'd kindly offered me, laid gently on the table between the salt and pepper. I looked at her face then, really looked. She wasn't challenging me, she wasn't testing, she was bracing. I saw it in the way her jaw tightened just enough to show she was ready for disappointment, in the way her hand stayed folded, disciplined, like if she kept still it wouldn't hurt as much. This wasn't vulnerability for effect, this was self-defense learned the hard way. Before we go any further, take a second to join this family by hitting the subscribe button. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I read every one of them. I've got another powerful story coming tomorrow, and you won't want to miss it. Now, let's continue. The restaurant noise swelled around us, but our table felt sealed off, suspended in time.
My mind raced ahead, painting pictures I hadn't planned to imagine. School mornings, sick days, schedules that didn't bend around spontaneity. A life where leaving early wasn't just about me anymore. And then another thought crept in, quieter but heavier. What kind of man leaves the moment real life shows up? I opened my mouth, then closed it, not because I didn't have an answer, but because I realized this wasn't about saying the right thing. It was about whether I was willing to sit with the truth she trusted me with. She finally looked up, meeting my eyes, ready for the verdict. In that pause, I understood something unsettling. The question wasn't whether I could handle her life. It was whether I was brave enough to step into something that might change mine. I didn't leave, but I didn't step forward either. I said something careful, something polite, something that bought time instead of courage. I told her it was a lot to take in and watched the smallest flicker cross her face, the kind that comes from hearing a sentence she already expected. She nodded, gracious in a way that felt unfair, and waved the moment away like she was used to folding herself smaller. We finished dinner after that, but the air had changed. The easy laughter thinned. Conversation circled safer ground. When the check came, it felt like a mercy. Outside, the night was cool and smelled faintly of rain. We stood there longer than necessary, neither of us quite ready to end things, both of us unwilling to ask more. I hugged her, an almost hug, careful and brief. She thanked me for coming. I said we should do it again sometime. We both knew sometime was a shield. Over the next few days, I replayed the moment over and over, not just her words, but her tone, the way she'd given me an out before I asked for one. I told myself I was being reasonable, that hesitation was maturity, that not every connection had to become a commitment. Yet her presence lingered in inconvenient ways. In the grocery store aisle, when I passed the cereal aisle and imagined three small opinions arguing over boxes. In the quiet of my apartment, where silence suddenly felt less like peace and more like absence. I caught myself wondering what her mornings looked like, whether she ever drank her coffee while it was still hot. She, meanwhile, returned to her rhythm, packed lunches, homework negotiations, bedtime stories read with voices she was too tired to perform but did anyway. She told herself she'd done the right thing by being honest early, that wanting more was a luxury she couldn't afford. Still, when her phone buzzed, her breath caught every time. So did mine. We were both retreating, to safety, to habit, to the versions of ourselves that didn't risk disappointment. But somewhere beneath that restraint, something unresolved kept knocking, because resistance doesn't erase connection. It only delays the moment you have to decide what kind of life you're willing to grow into. It wasn't a grand gesture that brought us back together. It was inconvenience. A week after our date, my car refused to start in the grocery store parking lot, engine coughing, then surrendering completely. I stood there, staring at my phone, scrolling contacts I barely trusted to help, when her name surfaced in my mind before logic could stop it. I hesitated, then typed, then erased, then typed again. Any chance you know a good mechanic? I'm stranded. The reply came faster than I expected. I'm 10 minutes away. I can bring jumper cables. When she pulled up, 3 kids were in the back seat, one humming, one arguing, one half asleep. Chaos contained by love. She smiled like this was nothing, like rescuing people was just another item on her list. We stood side by side as the engine finally turned over, our shoulders almost touching. The kids waved at me like I was already familiar. Something in my chest loosened up. We ended up getting coffee, all of us, sticky fingers, loud opinions, no pretense. And I realized I wasn't overwhelmed. I was curious. Later, when the kids were distracted, she looked at me carefully. "You don't have to do this," she said. "I know it's a lot. I know, but I want to be here." That was the truth. Simple, terrifying. Over time, coffee turned into walks. Walks turned into dinners where I learned which kid hated vegetables and which one needed extra reassurance at night. And one evening, after the house finally went quiet, she told me her story. Not dramatically, not for sympathy. She spoke of a love that promised permanence and delivered abandonment, of becoming strong not by choice but by necessity, of learning to carry disappointment quietly so it wouldn't spill onto the kids. "I don't need saving," she said. "I just don't want to do everything alone anymore." I listened, really listened, and something shifted in me. I saw my past, too, the way I'd chosen independence over intimacy, safety over vulnerability, how I'd mistaken freedom for fulfillment. We sat there in shared silence, the kind that doesn't ask to be filled. That night, as I drove home, I realized something undeniable. Love wasn't arriving to disrupt my life. It was arriving to deepen it. The breaking point came quietly. A canceled plan, a missed call, her apologizing too quickly, assuming she'd disappointed me. I saw the old fear rise in her, the expectation of being left. And suddenly, I understood the choice in front of me wasn't about kids or schedules or responsibility. It was about staying. I'm not going anywhere.
I said, not as reassurance, but as a decision. She cried then, not loudly, just the release of someone who'd been holding her breath for years. Months later, mornings are louder. Life is messier, but love is fuller. We build routines together now, imperfect, shared, real. I tie shoes that aren't mine. I learn patience I didn't know I had. And sometimes, when the house is finally quiet, she looks at me like she still can't believe I stayed. I look back, knowing I almost didn't. Love didn't arrive as fireworks. It arrived as a question. And I'm grateful every day for the answer I chose. If stories like this stay with you long after they end, then this channel was made for you. Subscribe and stay with us. And before you go, tell me, do you believe love always finds its way back?